The saddest truth in life is this. The moment you finally start choosing yourself, the people you thought would clap for you are often the first to turn away. It begins so subtly. You stop apologizing for setting boundaries. You stop saying yes when you mean no. You no longer beg for attention or sacrifice your peace to be liked. You start loving yourself, genuinely. And then suddenly, everything changes. People who once said they cared start acting cold. Conversations feel forced. Some distance themselves without warning, and others begin to criticize the very growth you fought so hard to earn. And you're left wondering, why? Why are they acting different now that I'm finally treating myself with the love I always deserved? But here's the truth most people won't tell you. They didn't change out of nowhere. Your healing threatened their comfort. They were comfortable with the version of you who doubted yourself, who stayed small, who was easy to control. But this new version, the one that walks with quiet confidence, that respects their own time, that no longer accepts disrespect, that version makes them feel exposed. Your self-love shines a light on everything they haven't fixed in themselves, and instead of growing with you, they pull away. This video is for you, the one who's felt that shift, the one who's walking a lonely path towards self-respect and wondering if it's worth it. In the next few minutes, we're going to uncover 7 deep, painful, yet powerful reasons why people change the moment you start loving yourself. Once you understand them, you'll stop internalizing their reaction and start standing taller in your truth. So stay with me, because this isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your freedom. Number 1. Your self-love disrupts their control. When you finally begin to love yourself, it changes everything. And the very first change you notice is in how others react to you. Why? Because your self-love breaks the silent control they once had over you. Before, they could easily manipulate you, guilt-trip you into doing things, convince you to tolerate their bad behavior, or keep you in a cycle of seeking approval. But now, you've stepped into your worth. You've recognized that your time, emotions, and energy are valuable. You stopped sacrificing yourself to please others, and that shift is powerful. It scares them. People who were comfortable with the old people-pleasing version of you now realize that they no longer have the upper hand. You don't react the same way to their passive-aggressive comments. You don't beg for their attention anymore. You're calm, centered, and assertive. To those who were used to controlling you, this new version is intimidating. It exposes their dependency on your emotional fragility. When you were unsure of yourself, they felt powerful. But when you rise into confidence, they lose grip. They may say you've changed, that you've become selfish or cold. But in truth, you've just stopped being available for emotional manipulation. You're no longer playing a role where you constantly give and never receive. You're protecting your peace now. And remember this: people who loved you for your weakness will never celebrate your strength. But don't shrink yourself back into their comfort zone. That old version of you, that was survival. This new you, that's healing. Number 2, you no longer tolerate disrespect. Loving yourself also means you begin to raise your standards, and with that comes a beautiful but painful truth. Not everyone can reach them. There was a time when you let things slide. Maybe you laughed along when someone made a disrespectful joke at your expense. Maybe you tolerated people constantly cancelling plans, ignoring your feelings, or treating you like a backup plan. You stayed silent because deep down you feared losing them. You confused tolerance with loyalty. But once you started truly valuing yourself, you realized that love without respect is just manipulation in disguise. Now, you call things out. You speak up. You walk away when someone crosses a line. That's not ego, it's self-respect. And guess what? People who were never planning to respect you suddenly feel uncomfortable. They're no longer getting the free pass. No more late-night apologies after crossing boundaries. You now say, "This is not okay with me," and you mean it. But here's the catch. They will push back. They'll say you're too sensitive or too rigid. But don't fall for that. Those are the words of people who benefited from your silence. Your new voice is not the problem, their old behavior is. Real love grows with mutual respect. If someone truly values you, they'll adjust. They'll meet your new standards, not out of fear, but out of love. And those who can't, they'll naturally fade away. Let them go. Your peace is too precious to bargain with. You didn't come this far in your healing just to fall back into patterns that disrespect your soul. Number 3. Your confidence exposes their insecurities. Confidence is a beautiful thing, but it comes with a price. It exposes the insecurities of those around you. When you begin to love yourself deeply, confidence becomes your default. You're no longer walking around seeking reassurance or permission. You don't shrink anymore. You speak with clarity, walk with purpose, and stand with presence. And suddenly, people start acting weird. They may avoid you. Some may criticize you behind your back. Some will say, "Well, you've changed," with a tone that feels more like an accusation than a compliment. But here's the truth. They're not uncomfortable with you. They're uncomfortable with their own lack of self-worth. Your presence reminds them of everything they've ignored about themselves. Maybe they've neglected their passions, ignored their healing, or stayed stuck in toxic patterns. But when they see you evolving, it hits a nerve. They don't know how to handle someone who's no longer afraid to shine. Before, they were used to your doubts, your need for approval. But now, your unapologetic confidence threatens the foundation of their comfort zone. Instead of being inspired, they feel inferior. Instead of learning from your growth, they may try to mock you or minimize your progress. But don't fall into the trap of shrinking yourself to soothe their ego. Your growth is not a threat, it's a gift. But only those who are secure in themselves will recognize that. Others will feel exposed by your light. So let them feel what they feel. It's not your job to fix them. Keep walking in your confidence. Because the people who are meant to grow with you, they won't feel insecure. They'll feel empowered, and they'll walk beside you, not behind you. Number 4, you stopped seeking their validation. One of the most subtle but radical shifts that happens when you love yourself is this. You stop looking outside for validation. You used to ask others if your choices were okay, if your dreams were realistic, if your voice was too loud. You lived in constant worry about being too much or not enough. And every time someone disapproved of you, you doubted yourself. But now you've started seeing your own worth from within. You realize that your voice matters, even if it shakes. Your feelings are valid, even if others don't understand them. And your dreams, they don't need anyone else's permission to be pursued. This shift makes some people deeply uncomfortable. When you no longer chase compliments or approval, the people who relied on your insecurity to feel important begin to fade. They can't manipulate you with silent treatment anymore. They can't guilt-trip you into saying yes when your soul screams no. You're grounded now, rooted. You validate yourself. And here's what happens. They might call you distant, self-centered, or changed, but that's just their discomfort with no longer being the center of your emotional universe. You've turned that energy inward. You've become your own home. And while that can feel lonely at times, it's the most freeing kind of love you'll ever experience. The kind that doesn't need to be earned or proven. It just is. Don't go back to needing applause just because silence feels unfamiliar. Trust your inner voice. It's been waiting a long time to lead. Number 5. You're no longer easily available. Self-love teaches you boundaries, and boundaries teach people how to treat you. When you begin valuing yourself, your time becomes sacred. Your energy becomes intentional. You stop being the one who's always available, physically, emotionally, mentally, for everyone at any time. You stop sacrificing sleep for midnight phone calls that go nowhere, or stretching yourself thin to fix problems that aren't even yours. And people notice. Suddenly, you don't reply within seconds. You don't drop everything to attend every emotional emergency. You don't feel guilty for taking time for yourself. And that bothers some people. They confuse your availability with loyalty. But loyalty isn't about how much you give. It's about how honestly you show up. And now you're showing up in a new way, fully aligned with yourself. That scares them, because your old patterns served their needs. They loved the version of you who always said yes, even when it hurt you. But now you've started saying no, and meaning it. You choose peace over drama, solitude over chaos, silence over meaningless conversations. And people who thrived off your emotional availability now feel abandoned, not because you're rejecting them, but because they no longer have unlimited access to your soul. But understand this: being unavailable doesn't make you cruel, it makes you wise. You've learned that giving without limits leads to resentment. You've learned that presence without boundaries invites burnout. And most importantly, you've learned that those who truly care will respect your space. Let go of the guilt. You're not here to rescue everyone. You're here to heal, grow, and protect the version of yourself that once believed love had to hurt. Number 6. You reflect what they're not willing to become. One of the most painful realizations in your self-love journey is this: your growth is a mirror, and not everyone is ready to face what it reflects. As you evolve, you start waking up earlier. You care about your mental health. You're more mindful about who gets access to you. You set goals and follow through. You forgive yourself. You leave toxic environments, speak kindly to yourself, and choose healing, even when it's hard. And then you see them change, not for the better, but in distance, discomfort, and disapproval. Why? Because your growth threatens their stagnancy. You've started doing what they wish they had the courage to do, but never did. Your healing journey, your self-love, your boundaries, it shines a spotlight on everything they're avoiding in their own lives. Their unhealthy habits, toxic patterns, emotional immaturity. It's all exposed now, not by your words, but by your actions. And that's uncomfortable. So instead of rising with you, many choose to retreat from you. They'll say, "You're acting different. You've changed. You think you're better." But the truth is, you had to change, because staying the same was slowly killing your soul. You've outgrown survival mode. And the sad part? They're still stuck there. You never meant to make them feel small. You simply decided to no longer stay small yourself. And here's the hard truth. Growth reveals who's truly aligned with your path. Some will cheer for you. Others will fear the new version of you, because it means they have to look at themselves. Let them. You're not responsible for their refusal to evolve. Your only job is to keep becoming everything you were always meant to be. Number 7. You realized you're enough on your own. This is perhaps the most powerful shift of all. You've realized you are enough, just as you are. No more chasing, no more begging, no more shrinking yourself just to be liked, loved, or accepted. You've stopped looking for completion in someone else. You've stopped believing the lie that you're only worthy when you're chosen, because now you've chosen yourself. You enjoy your own company. You spend time doing what nourishes your soul. You've learned to sit with your pain, listen to your inner voice, and rebuild your confidence from the inside out. You no longer see being alone as a punishment, but as protection, as peace. This terrifies those who relied on your dependency. Before, they held power because you believed you needed them. Now, you don't need, you choose, and that changes everything. Because relationships built on emotional dependence are easy to manipulate. But relationships built on self-sufficiency, they require honesty, effort, and mutual respect. People start to notice that you don't tolerate breadcrumbs anymore, that you're not afraid to walk away, that your silence now speaks louder than your begging ever did. You've detached from needing someone to complete you, and they don't know how to handle this version of you. You're whole now, and with that wholeness comes clarity. You stop mistaking attention for love. You stop staying in half-hearted connections out of fear. You stop settling. Yes, it gets quiet. Yes, some people leave. But what remains is sacred, yourself. And that's the greatest victory of all, because the person you became while learning to love yourself. That person is strong, wise, grounded, and finally free. So now you know the truth. They didn't really change. You did. And that change was so powerful, so pure, so unshakable. It shook the foundations of everything that wasn't meant for you. When you started loving yourself, you stopped tolerating what drained you. You stopped explaining your worth. You stopped playing small just to fit into spaces that were never built for your light. And those who were only there for your brokenness, they couldn't handle your healing. Let them leave. Let the silence grow. Let the space around you clear. Because in that space, you'll finally meet the people who honor your light, not just your wounds. The ones who clap for your confidence, respect your boundaries, and walk beside you without needing you to shrink. Loving yourself is not just a choice, it's a revolution. And every time you choose yourself, the world around you begins to rearrange, removing what was fake, revealing what is real. So if you're watching this right now and feeling the loneliness of growth, the pain of detachment, the sting of being misunderstood, don't stop. You're on the path to becoming unshakable, unapologetic, whole. And that version of you is the one who finally breaks the cycle. So keep walking, keep rising, keep loving yourself loudly, fearlessly, and fully. Because the world doesn't need another person hiding their light to be accepted. It needs more people brave enough to become who they were always meant to be. If this message touched your heart, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and drop your story in the comments. We're building a space for healing, and your voice matters. You're not alone. You're evolving. And this is just the beginning.